I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high-vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.
Welcome to Without Maps, the podcast. I'm your host, travel writer and rabble-rouser, Daniel Scheffler. For the last 2 decades, I've been working as a travel writer for publications like the New York Times, Condé Nast Traveler, and the Wall Street Journal. And I've traveled to about 130 countries. If you don't know me at all, well, now is as good a time as ever to get acquainted. I was born in Africa, bred in Europe, and now I live in America. And with this mix of an accent and as much wit as I can muster up, I shall offer you some heart knowledge. During the show, you'll meet my husband, Michael, the Jersey boy I married, and our pup, Ella, a street dog from Puerto Rico. The show is a delight of travel stories and some lessons from the world showcasing the humanity that I believe in. My belief is that travel is a mirror of ourselves and a reminder to have zero expectations, to let connections happen, and to avoid the preconceived ideas we foster. This show is for people willing to forego the guidebook and the map and let travel be their convoy. So, out with the biased and in with the unbidden. Please join me as I venture into the world without maps.
My name is Pauline. I'm the winemaking director for CHANDON, California. So I'm responsible for crafting the CHANDON wines, sparkling wine and still wines in Yountville, California.
And for making people's lives better.
Of course, that
Right.
goes without saying.
Yeah,
You know,
of course.
as soon as you have a bottle of sparkling, your life is definitely better.
Right. So you're actually in the business of feel good.
Exactly. And actually that's the thing about CHANDON is you don't need to wait for a special occasion. You can actually do it on a Tuesday evening and just celebrate life.
Great. Okay. I'm going to open some of that Earl Grey the minute you send it, because it is true. It's like, I think one should drink that stuff with no party necessary, just like any time.
No, it's just like, you're having a good day or you're having a bad day. You always have an occasion to just open a bottle. So
Yeah, great. Pauline, I had such a lovely time. Michael and I had such a lovely time. And I think I wanted to just first say thank you. It was so lovely. We had, it was just beautiful. I mean, I am not a big drinker, but I am a connoisseur. You know what I mean? Like, I don't consume alcohol like that. But I appreciate it. So maybe I consumed a lot in my life. So now I'm more like a person who would taste more than actually drink. But it was so nice to try all the things. And I felt like the experimental stuff with sparkling wine with the Earl Grey was like something I'd never seen before.
right.
And it felt to me as part of this trend of, I think people are drinking less in some ways. I think the data shows that people are drinking more, but it's like smoking, right? They say that smoking is down, but they mean cigarettes. They don't mean electronic cigarettes. The ones they smoke in France, the heated tobacco ones. I forgot. And marijuana and all the things. And I think the same with drinking. Maybe drinking as a category is up just because there's so many more types of drinks. But I think that they don't look at it, like this, the data is sort of, or data is always like this, but the data is sort of weird because it's like, well, I don't know if people are not drinking and therefore having a non-alcoholic, so like, I don't know if they're compensating for what's happening. In a
Yeah.
trend way, I think people are not drinking as much. I'm sorry. In a trend way, I think people are drinking non-alcoholic drinks, not necessarily instead of a drink, just also on top of a drink. And I think people are interested in more interesting things, like the Earl Grey. So I was very interested in how you kind of cultivated that and whether you'll do more of that, because I found that fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So I think for us at CHANDON, like innovation has always been a key part of who we are, and that has been embedded in our DNA for the last 50 years and plus. I think for me, it's always about how can we surprise our consumer? How can we offer something different and special? To your point, I think for us, it's not about consumption. It's about, the pleasure of having a drink. So we really believe on responsible consumption, but it's about drinking better, not drinking more. We actively are working on, new product constantly, just because we, where CHANDON was sparkling wine, we are able to actually go a little bit above and beyond the category, and that's kind of like what we're trying to do. You were talking about data and trend. That's always things that we are looking at. We're talking about low alcohol. Those are the type of things that are obviously important for people. So those are the type of things that we're always trying to see where it could be a good fit for us. But I'm glad you like the Earl Grey.
Oh, it's fabulous. Well, it's just so unique, and I think like that's the thing that I think people want to be surprised, right? Like, I was thinking about how people travel. Like my best friends are going to Bordeaux for her birthday, and they usually go to like a kind of big wine trip. Like they did Italy last year and Spain the year before. This year's France. And it's interesting what people travel for, right? Like I think CHANDON's such a great destination, of course, right? Like I would go there, even if I wasn't really someone wanting to drink, I would go there just to appreciate the place. And I mean, the food was fabulous. They did a vegetarian for us, and it was, the chef told us that it was the first time they'd done vegetarian, and he was all excited, and it was magnificent, right? But I think what is interesting in terms of a travel place is that people want to go somewhere and experience something that they cannot do elsewhere. And I think with champagne, I guess there's a limit to what you can do. But with sparkling wine, there's almost like I don't know, maybe there's more of like there's less of an expectation of exactly what it needs to be, and therefore it up to a possibility that I think is very interesting.
There is more freedom. There is a better ability to create. So for example, if we looked at tea, how tea came about. So the world of tea and the world of wine are actually very, very similar.
Right.
So then we tried to say, okay, like, what if we combine those two worlds and see what it does? And it was something just unexpected, obviously delicious, which is obviously the end goal. But if you look at winemaking and tea, it's the notion of ingredient, the care, how you harvest it. There's a notion of fermentation, fermentation for wine, fermentation for tea. That's how you get a green, white tea, black tea. That's all depending on the fermentation of the tea. The notion of terroir, the sense of place, so where the tea is grown matters, same thing as wine. The chemistry of the wine versus tea, we talked about phenolics in both of those worlds. So we try to see, so we experiment with a lot of different things, and then most of the time we fail, and sometimes we actually succeed and create something that is delicious.
What did you fail? Tell me something that failed. And
so whether it's like actually trying new technology in the processes, we've tried new equipment that was not giving us the good results. But in terms of wine development, what have we found?
Something that was disgusting and in an impossibility to drink.
Yeah, well, that happens often. So
yeah, right, I'm sure.
I have a friend who works in tea. She has a fabulous. She owned a company called oh my God, what was it called? Firepot Teas, and she sold that to a big coffee company. Now she has a company called Tea Huntress, and she does very bespoke, very high-end kind of tea programs for like in San Francisco for the bakery. Oh my God, what is it called? My brain, it's like early morning. Tartine. She did Tartine's tea program, but now she does these wonderful retreats, and I've traveled with her all over the world. We've been to kind of a lot of places in Asia together, Taiwan, Bhutan, etc., looking for tea, ancient tea in Vietnam, and she's created all these wonderful teas, and then she's also created some products with it, right? Like a new way to do chai and moon tea, and some of the experimental stuff. She lives in Nashville. I've been there for when she's experimenting, and some of it has been so disgusting,
Right.
but so amazing that you can experiment.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing for us in how we make our wine. So blending is a big component of what we do. So we bring all of the wine from this year and reserve wine from previous years, and then we try. And then to get to like a blend, it can take us like 10, 20, 50 tries to actually get to the end level. So sometimes you put a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, and then sometimes it's great, sometimes it's actually not working. So it's very interesting because the possibilities into blending is actually quite interesting. And then sometimes you have a blend within a blending session and you're super happy, and sometimes it takes you months to get you to what you have in mind and what you've envisioned. So
what do you think people like? I think people don't really understand sparkling wine versus champagne, right? Like, it's easy to say, well, champagne needs to come from a region, but if you ask the average consumer, like, what does that actually mean? I wonder if people have a clear understanding. How do you explain that to people?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, Daniel, there's a huge confusion, and I think when people see a drink that has bubbles, they say champagne. I think that it's in our head. So for me, there's three things about sparkling, or differentiate sparkling and champagne. So obviously, champagne, it's a location. So it needs to be made from Champagne, France. So it's about its geography. And then sparkling wine, it's really about how it's made. So there's different method of producing sparkling wine. There is like either you add carbon dioxide, so it's called the gasification, or you can do like the Prosecco method, which is the secondary fermentation takes place in a tank. Or there is the traditional method, which is also the same method that is made in Champagne, and that's the method we use at CHANDON as well, which means that you do a secondary fermentation, but this time it's happening in that bottle. So this is where like each bottles are actually from a single fermentation vessel, which is actually pretty crazy when you think about that. That's your bottle. It's actually has fermented in there. So the sense of where the grapes come from, the method, and the grape variety is really what is defining sparkling wine. But essentially, to make it simple, champagne can only be made in France, where sparkling wine is made outside. So there's Prosecco in Italy, there is Cava in Spain. In the United States, we call that sparkling or Chandon. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I wish that was the name of the category, but we're not there yet.
But do you think Americans, when they go to the store to buy this, or if they're traveling, they're like, I want to go drink sparkling things. I mean, most of that is probably not champagne, right? Most of it is probably sparkling wine.
It depends. So obviously, champagne, you've got quite a bit of in retail. So I think it's possible that it is champagne. Indeed, like I think when people are buying a sparkling wine bottle that has a champagne cork on it, then people tend to call that champagne. So it's obviously important to look at the labels. And essentially, for me, what I tell consumers is you want to find a product that you like. It doesn't mean that it is champagne and it's more expensive, that it should be what you prefer. So for me, like Chandon, we're trying to make wine that are obviously very Californian. So what I mean by Californian is wine that are delightful, that has that fruit intensity, that freshness, that vibrancy. It's that liveliness, that but easy to drink. So champagne has a tendency to have a high acidity, so it could be hard to actually start and loving champagne right away. It's like when you're a kid, you don't like tea or coffee right away, or you don't like red wine, because it gets some practice to get used to it. So so for me, for sparkling wine and for Chandon especially, we want to have that California brightness, that California sunshine in the bottle, and making wine that is very, easy to drink and just yummy, and you can have a great time sipping it.
Right, yummy. I think what's interesting is that the champagne flute, right? I have my family has a wine background and grapes background in South Africa.
Okay.
So my family have a winery, and we have a very old wine brand, and then they also do table grapes from my mother's side. So I've spent a lot of time in South Africa in the winelands. I don't know if you've ever been.
I've never been.
It's really quite magical. And I was on the phone with my mother today, and she was discussing the winelands with me. And it's interesting because the champagne flute, right, is like, it's kind of the worst way to drink champagne.
Yeah, it's on the trend for like like people don't like to drink in flutes. Neither do I, actually. I don't like it. At home I drink in a Cabernet glass, if that's crazy. So a large glass. Why? Is because a flute is great because you can see the bubbles, and usually bubbles are pretty, so you see them rise in the glass. So it's cute. Yet to actually appreciate it and drink out of it, then you have a narrow opening. You cannot really put your nose above it. It's just inconvenient. Obviously, when it's too full, you can risk of spilling your glass. So myself, I really like to have like actually I've got flutes right in front of me that we are using at the winery. But yeah, large opening so you can actually smell the wine. You can swirl because it's okay to swirl your glass with sparkling wine. Don't do it constantly because then your bubbles are going to go away, but it's okay to actually bring some air to your wine, so you're actually lifting the aromatic, so you can just enjoy the wine just by looking at it, by smelling, but obviously by sipping, obviously, and tasting.
Right. Well, Marie Antoinette's breasts weren't the shape of a flute. They were the shape of a coupe, right?
Yeah, so do you like drinking out of sparkling wine in coupe yourself?
Yes, yeah, I believe that. I mean, I am alternative in my way of thinking, but I do not drink wine in a wine glass. When I drink wine, I drink something that's wide. I like a wide glass, like a whiskey glass.
Okay.
Right, and the way they drink it, like on the street in Spain, is the way that I like to serve it at my house. Cafe glasses, short, fat. You can smell it. Don't need to swirl. Just drink and enjoy. But I think it's comical that they serve in these very narrow, kind of get their nose in there.
Right. So for myself, I'm a little clumsy. So when it comes to a coupe, like it's too much for me. Like I'm always gonna be afraid of flipping that glass over and losing it. But I think for me, it's a matter of like, use a glass that makes you happy. Use a glass that you like. First of all,
that's great advice.
Because I'm a big fan of you're going to the beach, like you can just grab a plastic cup and just enjoy it, and it might be the best one you will ever had, just because you will be looking at the sunset and will be with your best friends. Or so I think glassware wise, obviously I always have a preference to say go with white or red glasses, so large opening, but at the end of the day, use whatever you have on hand and the one you actually want to use.
We're going to take a little break to have a word from our sponsors.
I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high-vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.
Do you think that wine versus sparkling wine / champagne, sparkly things, Prosecco, that category, do you think that people, like wine snobs, don't think of sparkling things in the same way? What do you think that disconnect or that sort of idea that these two things are separate, right? Like if you think about the wine cognoscenti, I mean, they're annoying, but they have a snobbery. Oh, the glass has to be like this, and the legs, and the perfect and perfect. But they don't talk about sparkling in that same way. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think a big part of it, and which is also what I like about sparkling, is the fact that it's a party drink. So it's something that, you know, you just, when you open that bottle, you have the pop right away, like it puts people in the mood. And so it's I think people do not consider sparkling as serious as wine, but I think it's also like even though we've tried to educate quite a bit on that, people also don't consider sparkling wine as a food wine. So when you come at the winery, so you've been at CHANDON, we do obviously like a lot of food and wine pairing with our sparkling wine, and are showcasing how actually sparkling wine, CHANDON wine can be poured, can be enjoyed with any type of food. So I think that there is that perception, but I think, I mean, I think it's the fact that it's the celebratory aspect of sparkling wine that make it not as serious as any other wine. I think that would be my answer.
How do you explain? So when I say to someone, "Oh, CHANDON," they don't know the brand separate from Wet CHANDON, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain that separation? I mean, it's very different, but how do you explain that in a simple way that people are like, "Oh, wait, these are two very different products. These are two very different ways of seeing the world."
Yeah. So obviously, Moët & Chandon is her mother company. So it's the champagne house back in Champagne. And then CHANDON, actually, what a lot of people do not know about CHANDON is we're 6 wineries around the world. So sparkling CHANDON is about exceptional sparkling wine around the world. You have 6 locations. The first one was Argentina in 1959. Then it was CHANDON, California in 1973, which we're just celebrating 50 years. Then it's CHANDON, Brazil, Australia, India, China. So I think CHANDON is a brand that explored location. So they went on a quest for the most amazing terroir around the world to craft up exceptional sparkling wine around the world. So, but it also gave us a leeway and a freedom to make a different wine and have a different offering than champagne. So the idea for me as a winemaker is I'm not making champagne in California. I'm actually making sparkling wine in California. So I want to make the best wine that is showcasing the terroir of California.
Right. It's interesting to think, I mean, I'm hoping that I get invited to all the locations, hint, hint. But it's interesting to think of China as a place for sparkling wine, right?
Yeah.
It's not the first place that comes to mind when you think about wine. It's very often Australia, South Africa, obviously Europe, and then California. But China is sort of not obvious. But I think that makes it really interesting. So tell me a little bit. I mean, I think people that listen to the show and people that travel will be like, wait, now I have to go to all these destinations and go through all the CHANDONs and understand the difference, right? Like, Tell me a little bit about China and what that part is. I know it's not exactly your purview, but I'm sure you
Yeah,
have.
no, that's cool. I mean, obviously, you're somebody that travel quite a bit. So the likelihood of you going to all 6 Shandong before me, I think is
Oh, it's
likely. Because believe it or not, I only been to Australia and Argentina. I've never been to the other Shandong. So I'm doing another hint to my boss saying like, I'm missing 3 locations.
Uh-huh. I'll come with you.
So yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's plan a trip. All joking aside, China is a very interesting location, and I think something to share about how they do it is they have such harsh winter that they actually bury the vine under the dirt, and then they uncover the dirt during spring. You could actually do 2 harvests if you wanted to, both in India and China. Obviously, we choose to only do 1 just because it's better quality to just do 1, and you actually put your vines dormant. Like us, the vines actually need to recover and sleep once in a while. So doing 1 harvest is much better for the longevity of the vines. But it's definitely a climate that is, it's at by the Himalayas. So you're in a cold climate, especially during the winter. Yet I can tell you that the quality of the wines is really exceptional, and it's something different. And I love the idea that you can travel in a glass. So you get to try different things. And I think that's the importance of us making, delightful wines, but also wines that have that local identity.
Right.
So we want those wines to have that connection with where they're made, where they're from. And I think that, the China wines are actually quite delicious. In India, they've established themselves like 10 years ago. So we still consider India, Shandong China and Shandong India as baby wineries, just because they're a lot younger. India, they've been essentially at the beginning, they tried to use the variety that we're using for here in California, which is Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier. And then they realized that actually Chenin Blanc, Zinfandel was working a lot better. So there is also that freedom to use, to achieve the wine style that we have, the delightfulness and the juicy character that we're looking for in our wines, to experience with new variety and different things to make the wine taste good. So it's not about, you have to respect the method, you have to respect variety. Is like, what can we do to make the wine taste the best we can?
Right. The thing we need to talk about, which hopefully in some years, this will not be something you will ever have to talk about again, but I think it's important now to talk about it, is the fact that you're a female winemaker. Because I have a friend who, she wins all the awards. She's down in Santa Barbara County.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Samra Morris, and the winery is called Almarosa Winery. It's in the Santa Rita Hills. Anyway, and she's amazing. Oh yeah, I'm one of the very few. Well, she's like, I'm the only Bosnian winemaker in California for sure, but she's like, I'm one of the very few female winemakers. And I think it's like, sometimes I find it exhausting that I have to be the only gay person in a room, or I have to be the representation for the gays. Like, I'm speaking at a travel conference in Vegas just after I go to on the Runa trip, and I'm like, I had a call with them this morning, and they're like, "Oh, can you be the gay representative?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's exhausting to represent, because I can't speak
For everyone.
for all the gays, but it is also, in another way, it's important as a representation. I mean, we're seeing the Kamala Harris campaign really not leaning into that female thing. She is never mentioning her race or her gender, because in a way it's self-evident, right? She's like, you can see what I am. But in another way, I also think maybe that's incredible progress. But in a wine world, right, it is very unusual, and you're not as visible as she's campaigning. So perhaps there is an importance to be like, yes, female winemakers are just as good as male winemakers, you know. So tell me how that
I would
feels.
say even better.
Oh, I fucking love that. But how does that feel to be, I mean, you're one of very few, and it has been such a male dominated business, like everything, for such a long time. How does that feel for you personally?
Yeah, it's actually funny that you're mentioning this, because no longer than last night, I was talking with our director of operation, and she's a woman, and we're talking about how, like, sometimes you still have individuals that have a hard time with women being their leaders, and we're just talking about those obstacles, and how I used to be the one leading this conversation, or having to go to those person, whether it was a woman having an issue with fitting with a team, or vice versa. And we're actually celebrating the fact that we've came a long way from the wine industry, because I used to be the only one in the room. So I used to be the only one in the exec team as a woman. Now there is more of us, and the idea is to be like 50-50. This year for harvest, I made a point of, like, my harvest team was going to be half and half women and men, which is actually quite a challenge, because you obviously want to bring the woman in the conversation and coming to work for you. So I think, like, as a wine industry, we've made a lot of progress. So I think that's something to celebrate. Yet there is still a long way to go. So I think for women to get in the wine industry is easy. Then to actually get to top winemakers, head winemakers, GM, we're not that many to be able to do that. For me, through my career, I didn't know if it was because I was a woman or was young. Yet for me, and I think it goes to what you say about the campaign, is I never wanted to acknowledge that either. So meaning, like, I was like, maybe it's an obstacle, but I'm not going to put it in my head, and I'm just going to speak my truth, speak up, give my opinion, being assertive like a man would be. Sometimes did I feel like it would take me longer to get to where I am? Maybe, but at the same time, I do feel like it's actually a chance to be a woman winemaker. To be honest with you, I think we're good tasters. We also have consumer, at least for sparkling wine, most of my consumers are women. So I feel like I had a tendency to relate to them a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, it's better than it used to be. But you're right, sometimes it's just tiring to be the one that has to be the woman voice, or but yeah, I think that's just the way it is, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. The last thing I want to ask you is, like, tell me something that people don't know about sparkling wine, like a secret about sparkling wine that you love and that made you feel like that's what you wanted to do. I mean, you studied winemaking, but you're focusing on sparkling now. Yeah. So tell me something, like a secret, something fascinating.
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to be a winemaker since I was 14 years old. Obviously, when you're saying that in the US context, you're like 14 years old. Wait a minute, how did you even, how wine was even a possibility? I grew up
with European families, so no, they were drinking. There was always drinking. My mother's French, so there was always my way.
So for me, it's always been like it's a job where you get into like the nature, which I loved. It's a wine that it's a job that you get to have like chemistry, microbiology, going in the vineyard. Like it's actually quite diverse. And then so for me, I wanted to be a winemaker since I was 14, but not just a winemaker. I knew I wanted to make bubbles. So I grew up in Champagne in France, which obviously I thought I would be making champagne for the rest of my life. I was actually super happy to live in Champagne, but then for me, there is a part of me that was like, okay, I want to travel, I want to discover new things. So that's what led me to come in the US. So I've been at Chandon for 18 years because I came here as a 3 months internship and never left. So to go back to your question about what makes it very special for sparkling wine is the fact that first, like, when I came here, I was young. I was given a lot of responsibility, which I never would have had back home, just because age is a big factor in France. You know, you need to prove that you can do it before actually doing it, which I find that in the US was the opposite.
Yeah.
And I think the key for me is we're all individual. We're all passionate about what we're doing. So myself, I'm super passionate. I'm obviously super demanding. Like I'm always seeking like high quality. So it's a work that is very different throughout the year because it's very depending on season, what's happening in the vineyard. It's obviously very busy because every time you're trying to create and doing new things, that your mind goes all, you know, in all of different places, and it's busy. But the what is interesting is that there is world of possibilities in crafting a new product, and I think that make it quite intriguing and interesting.
Right.
So yeah, I would say that the level of creativity and things that you can do with sparkling wine.
The secret. Tell me, is there going to be a natural sparkling wine something? Because natural wine is having such a moment. There must be natural sparkling wine.
So, I mean, wine is definitely natural to start with. So it's always difficult, like what we're, you know, talking about. For sure, for me, like, yes, the tendency is always about, you know, showing like the ingredients, but like making the process super respectful to nature. Obviously, sustainability is a huge part of what we're doing from the vineyard to the winemaking. But it also has to taste great. So, and that's always something when you're trying like new trends. It's wine has to be delicious to start with.
Well, when my husband and I, we were in Japan, and we hung out with a friend who owns a bar in that square mile, the golden square mile of all the, you know, there's like 200 bars within a radius of a mile in Tokyo. And he took us around to like meet winemakers and sake makers and sparkling winemakers. And I mean, you cannot believe that night. It was so wild, like barbecuing kind of on the street, and this woman bringing sake from the back. Like, and I learned about the new kind of trend there was like they were making a sort of soku and a sake that was cloudy and had all this kind of ferment in it, and some of it was so crazy tasting, like things that it tasted like Spider's magic brew. Like it was just such wild things. And we were like, and I went during COVID. I got a business. Anyway, I don't know if this should be public, so maybe I shouldn't tell you how I got that. But let's say I went just after COVID, and so they were just opening up again. And we went, they weren't yet allowed to do a lot of things. So we went to this liquor store that they'd started to do like a tasting. So liquor stores could be open, but then you could taste things, but then it basically turned into a bar, right? Okay. So they were serving all these drinks, and they invited all these sake makers, and all these like young Japanese guys were like, "Oh yeah, I'm making this from orange blossom, wine from magnolia, from the hills of Fuji." It was so crazy amazing, and a lot of that stuff was like, it was very fermented. Michael and I were just we just got back from Switzerland this week, and we were in the Italian part of Switzerland and in Lugano, and we were drinking and eating things that that were like Swiss Italian. And I was like, wait, I don't know what this is, at those grottos that they talk about. And it was so fabulous. Like, that's the thing that I think people travel for. They want to do the unexpected and try
Yeah.
and find stuff
Definitely.
so unusual.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, when you came to CHANDON, like for me, that one of the things that we've tried to do with the new CHANDON home was having people also feel home. So, you're within people, but it's a large place that you can also be on your own, discover new things, new food and wine experiences. It's really cool. We have different range of product at the winery, and we have one that is called Winemaker Exploration, which obviously its name tells you that we're trying to explore and go beyond. So I love that. So we've done a sparkling Cabernet. You were asking me like some of the crazy stuff that we've done. So we've done sparkling Cabernet. We have a sparkling red. We have a tea. We have a garden spritz, and obviously we have all the way to wines that age for 5 to 6 years. So
please, will you send me some more of the Earl Grey? I would love to have more of that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for time. This was so nice. I'm sorry we didn't get to hang out in Yountville, but we will do that next time.
Yeah, next time you come, for sure. That would be great.
Without Maps, the podcast is produced by Chandler Mays and written by me, Daniel Scheffler. Emotional support by Michael and the best dog in the world, Ella. Until the next episode, bon voyage and happy landings.
I am Sarah Scarborough, founder of Tea Huntress. For me, tea is so much more than a healthy beverage. Stretching across millennia, tea has been revered as a ritual, a meditation, a wellness practice, a way to reconnect with yourself and others, and to cultivate moments of stillness and beauty. Visit us at teahuntress.com to discover high-vibe teas, an immersive online tea school, and transformational experiences that will awaken you to the magic of life. That is teahuntress.com.